You're listening to Rise of the Independents, the podcast dedicated to agencies, their clients, campaigns, and partners on the rise. ROTI is presented by MiO Marketplace, a sales enabling tool to help agencies and their teams find, keep, and grow their business. And now here's your host, Sean Halter.
You are listening to the Rise of the Independent podcast, the podcast where we talk about and with independent agencies, their clients and partners about who we see riding to the top and rising to the top and why. Presented by MiO Marketplace. We're excited to have as our guest today, frequent guest of mine on our podcast, Casey Hurbis, Chief Marketing Officer over at BetMGM, Dan Levy, Chief Marketing Officer over at Clear Channel Outdoor, and Megan Lally, CEO at award-winning agency Highdive. Thank you guys all for joining on the podcast. As always, Casey, great to see you as well. And Dan and Megan, it's nice to see you again. Let's jump straight in. The first question we have is called Hot or Not. It's where we talk a little bit about who's trending, good or bad, and why. Let's start with you, Megan. Ladies first.
Sure. Well, because it's ladies first, when I think about this question of who's trending good, I have to bring up Taylor Swift. So I know she doesn't kind of count as a brand, but with everything happening with her recently and, seeing her on new heights, she's just fresh, uniquely herself, brings consistent greatness. And one of the things she said that really stuck with me is that she's in the business of human emotion, which I think we're in the business of human emotion for marketing. So my other quick answer from a brand perspective is BetMGM, because with KC, we launched a new brand campaign for BetMGM. We really tapped into human emotion, this idea that, it's more than the odds. It's about the stories after. We just launched that. Really excited to see where that takes us.
Spoken like a true agency, sticks the plug in right. The very first question, where did you guys shoot it?
We actually shot half of it in Jersey and New York, and then the other half up in Canada. It was a 9-day shoot. Arduous, but we're really, really excited about how it's coming out.
It's one of the things that I've enjoyed. We've done this podcast for 3 seasons. We previously called it Face of Marketing. We talked about kind of all things marketing. I felt like what was kind of missing was a chance to really talk to a lot of the independents about the process, what they're doing right, what they struggle with, where they feel like their voice maybe is or isn't heard, especially when you look at some of the larger holding groups that are always, getting some accolades. That process itself of just production and how that process works, I do think it's often doesn't get all of the credit that it deserves. And even just before we started this podcast, Dan, you were saying, oh my God, I had no idea, Megan, everything you guys work on. That's great. Dan, how about from your perspective? We'll go to you next. Who's hot or not and why?
One, I got to say, I'm a 60-year-old massive Taylor Swift fan, so I fully agree with Megan. I think she's one of the best marketers on the planet right now. The ability to really, truly understand her fan base and how to engage them. And I love the New Heights podcast as well. Here's what I'm paying attention to. I don't know if you guys saw a few weeks ago, Bose announced that they were walking away from search marketing and putting their budgets into brand building. And I think that's a trend that we're going to be hearing about more and more from more and more marketers. I think the performance marketing pendulum has swung too far. And more marketers are realizing that at some point you're not going to get the juice out of that lemon if you keep squeezing that same lemon. And so you got to be building your brand and you got to be putting more people into the top of that funnel. And that's where brand building comes in. That's where developing your brand and brand meaning and brand salience comes in. And it's obviously so for everyone who may not know who that guy am, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Clear Channel Outdoor. We're a billboard company. And so I have a vested interest in brand building, but I also have some really cool research that we've released in the last few weeks that talks about the effectiveness of out of home in actually driving brand impact and brand salience. So we can talk more about that.
And Dan, we'll give you a chance to dig into that just a little bit. You can't talk about brand without talking from somebody who I feel like is certainly one of the experts in the industry. That's my friend, Casey Hurbis. Casey, who do you feel like is hot or not right now?
Well, listen, a good agency partner is one that agrees with the client. So I'm a double tap on. I thought about this as well, and it was like, there was that day when she got engaged. Well, her and Travis got engaged. I think productivity in the U.S. Economy went down 30%. Because everybody was glued to the social media platforms, what have you. A brand itself. I mean, you saw like how many followers the podcast got, and sales, all that good stuff. But I'll tell you, listen, I'm in the business of online sports betting and iGaming, and this week, tomorrow night kicks off like the juggernaut of the NFL season, and for us, that's a 17-week long Super Bowl for us, including plus the playoffs. So it's going to be trending. It'll be dominating every bit of the airwaves here starting tomorrow night.
Talk about being a fly on the wall, and all of us really talking about Taylor. We don't see her team really. We don't get to see some of that behind the scenes stuff. To me, that would be I'd watch that Netflix, special to be able to see who sits in that room, right? Who gets a voice in that, because clearly she's the head of that corporation, but it does take a village often. And again, hopefully that's one of the things that many people, as they listen to a podcast like this, they get a chance to realize that there's all of these teams often that come into play, whether it's Casey and his new role over at BetMGM and deciding, how do I want this to feel? And then pulling Megan and her team into, let's really entertain people with content that's interesting. And then groups like Clear Channel Outdoor. Outdoor is one of my favorite formats, taking often some of those pieces of content and figuring out how to put those on a big canvas. Let's talk about who each of you are, give you guys a chance to talk just a little bit more about just that. Dan, we'll start with you. This segment is called Hey, That's Me. Tell us a little more about who you are and what you do.
All right. So Dan Levy, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Clear Channel Outdoor. I've been in my role for the last 10 years. I don't think very many people grow up wanting to be a billboard marketing guy. I was recruited for this role because I quickly learned it wasn't really just a billboard marketing job. It was a change job and an innovation job. And I'm really excited about what the entire organization has done over the last 10 years. We have taken the world's oldest advertising medium, a medium that people actually like and pay attention to and engage with and feel positive about, and brought it into the 21st century by bringing a digital orientation to it. And so we have audience planning tools and measurement tools and data integration tools that give us the ability to have marketers look at and act and use our medium as you would a digital medium, but with your ad appearing on a 14 by 48 canvas that consumers actually respond to and really like. And Casey, I'm just going to say, appreciate not only you being on the podcast here with me, but your support for out of home. BetMGM is one of our key clients, and they've used out of home as a key way of opening up new markets and kind of reminding people that the NFL season is about to start. So I appreciate your buy into the medium.
It's one of my favorite things about living here in the city or being close to the city is, you can't go in and not see just some absolutely amazing outdoor and new campaigns that are happening. It's the Las Vegas to me of outdoor. And we talk about outdoor quite a bit on the podcast because it's that medium. Casey, let's go to you next to talk a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Casey Hurbis, Chief Marketing Officer with BetMGM, the online sports book, as well as iGaming brand, 7 years old, young, if you will. And I just joined the company in December as the CMO. Prior to that, I was the Chief Marketing Officer at Rocket Mortgage, formerly known as Quicken Loans in Detroit. And very similar to Rocket, we have an in-house agency, 150 team members, full funnel activation. And, we're having an amazing time. This year has been very strong for us, and, just launching our new brand campaign with our partners at Highdive. And I've had the pleasure of working with Megan and the Highdive team for several years now. And I couldn't be happier, working on a really exciting brand in just a very dynamic category. I mean, it changes every single day, and it's just exciting to be here.
Megan, I got a chance to meet you earlier this year at an event. It was the first time I believe you and I actually got a chance to meet in person. We've got some shared friends in the space, which is always nice and kind of fun. But the creative side to me has been really fun to watch over just the last couple of years, as I've gotten to know more of some of what I would say, again, some of those players in the independent space who are helping to shape some of that content out there. You guys are certainly leading a bit of the way there. Talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do and why you do it.
I'm Megan Lally. I'm a co-owner and CEO of Highdive. We're an independent creative agency. We're based in Chicago. We were founded in 2016. So believe it or not, we're actually older than BetMGM, which boggles my mind. But it shows you how fast the sports betting space is moving, because we're still young too. But my role as CEO is really the business side of Highdive. I have two business partners who are our creative co-CCO co-founders. So I like to say I'm like the peanut butter to their chocolate, but we've known each other a very long time and work very well together. We run an agency of about 130 employees. We have about 15 or so clients right now. In addition to BetMGM, we work with State Farm, Jeep, KFC, Jersey Mike's, and others. And really my job is to make Highdive and our team the best we can be.
Let's talk about tools for just a moment. It's certainly become a more and more important part about, with all of our jobs, with everything that we do. Megan, as you guys start to look at 2026, what are some of the tools that you feel like you guys have in place today? And what are some of the tools you're looking forward to potentially implementing as you get into 2026?
I think right now, probably the hottest topic is AI tools. And so the approach we're taking right now is experimenting with different tools to see which ones we think add the most value. There's so many out there. We'll kind of see which ones win or fall behind or where we end up with our Highdive tech stack. One that I am just personally obsessed with right now is Claude. I love having Claude as a collaborative writing partner, but we're exploring a lot of different stuff related to agentic AI, Gen AI. Could talk about production with that when there's time, but there's so many out there. We're just experimenting.
Dan, how about from a media perspective? Again, obviously, everybody wants a great dashboard. Everybody wants to be able to say, okay, we put $10 in, we made $25 on the other side of it. With the medium like outdoor, it's not always necessarily that check at the cash register, type of measurement. But what are some of the tools that you feel like you guys are really talking to agencies and clients about, not only this year, but you're starting to look forward to in 2026?
Measurement is something that's been introduced into the out-of-home space over the last 10 years or so. And much of that work has been outsourced to third parties who have very good solutions and very good data sets. The differentiator for Clear Channel is we actually built a data platform that we call Radar. And we are persistently observing the devices that are exposed to our billboards and our clients' campaigns on our billboards. And so we're having lots of conversations with our customers these days about not how to measure out of home, but how to integrate out-of-home data into your overall campaign measurement. We've gone from out-of-home being a non-measurable medium to one that there's measurement solutions to measuring it in a silo. And what we're focusing on these days is don't measure it in a silo, understand incremental value, understand the contribution of out of home. And so we spend a lot of time talking with our customers about data clean rooms, and we start talking to them about their own data supply and how they can activate that against out of home, just like they do across digital media, performance media. So those are the conversations we're having these days, and that's driven by our data platform itself.
Casey, you've got an in-house team. You also work obviously with some external agencies as well, as many brands do. Outside of that AI tool set, what are some of the tools that you either brought over with you when you came over from Rocket that are maybe new to some of those team members? Or what are some of those tools as you start looking at 2026 that you want to make sure that your team is thinking about?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to go back to what Megan was saying, and I'll expand upon it. As you think about the role of AI, and trust me, when it comes to AI, it's not about replacement. It's about optimizing and growth and scalability. So AI for us, one is, we're in the business of personalization as much as we can. The world is changing so fast, the fastest we've ever seen it. The speed of the game is absolutely blazing. And so how can we, from a media standpoint, how can we find the right player at the right time with the right message? And then as you think about it, that's the media, the data learnings and targeting standpoint. And then creatively, whether it's an out-of-home board, a digital out-of-home board, a CTV ad, a digital ad, social, whatever it might be. We are going to this world of pure audience targeting. And so how can we use, and I've met with all these platforms and AI tools, and it's mind-boggling how many there are. And much like as Megan said, it's like understanding where it is an arms race, if you will, bad analogy, but how can we utilize this AI, one from a data targeting, so the right message, but from a creative standpoint, if Dan is at home and we know he watches football, but he has, the propensity of being maybe a big soccer fan and bets on soccer, maybe I should be serving him a soccer ad while he's watching NFL. Finding the right player with the right message. And that's the excitement of AI, because, how to use that scalability to be able to reach that critical mass.
And Casey, are there any other tools, again, from your standpoint that you're looking forward to in 26? Is there something that you're kind of scratching your head about right now and you're kind of thinking it'd be really nice if we could figure out X?
Yeah, listen, every brand is, whether you saw Coke do it last year, I saw Highdive do a great piece on Cherokee. I saw a very early rendition of it, and I was blown away because I am a Jeep guy all the way through. We have yet to do an AI spot all the way through, but it will be done by Q1. And so we're going to step into that space. Of course, then it starts to introduce ethical AI, compliance, so on and so forth. People will show you even in TikTok now, by simply adding an AI character into your normal TikTok ad, you'll get additional reach or engagement just by introducing AI characters, a KCAI into that TikTok ad, right? And of course, start to ask yourself, all right, how does that work from a compliance standpoint, what have you? But, we're all figuring it out.
It is absolutely fascinating. Let's stay on that for just a second before we jump to the next question, Megan. Obviously, of the panel, you're the one that probably is impacted the most interesting, when it comes to AI. So what's your additional perspective that you would add from a creative agency standpoint when it comes to AI itself?
Yeah, I think to build on what Casey said, it's really about enhancing creativity and strategic thinking instead of replacing. While we have done some fully AI produced spots, that's not always the best way to go about producing something. So it's not a one size fits all approach, but I think it's just really exciting to see what the possibilities are in terms of creative and specifically related to production, where it might have taken days and a ton of VFX and all this work to create something. The Jeep spot that Casey was referencing is we showed a Jeep Cherokee through the decades and kind of peeled off the sheet metal. That was all fully AI. To do something like that in post-production it would be much more expensive and much more time consuming. So we just think the possibilities of what we can put out, we now have a much broader, I guess, toolkit, so to speak.
It will be interesting to see what impact that has on the award shows. We saw earlier this year at Cannes that there were some situations where AI was maybe used, not necessarily disclosed at the level at which they would have preferred. And I don't know, I'm always fascinated by those pieces. I certainly think the next year or at the most two, we'll kind of play some of that out. Let's ask the next question. It's called Reach for the Gold. If you can make up any award, what's one you think your team would have a good shot at winning? Let's stay with you for just a second, Megan. I'm going to have you answer that first, and then I'm going to take a small pivot off of that for both you, Dan, and you, Casey. Talk about award season. What does it mean to you guys? What are some awards that you kind of wish were out there that aren't out there right now, Megan?
My made-up award would be the best agency and client relationship in the industry, and I think we would win it.
Again, I've met several of your clients in person, and almost every single one of them has said, who you got to talk to. And so that is a testament, certainly, to the relationships that you built. It's still a relationship business at the end of the day. As much as we want to talk about AI, as much as we want to talk about tools, as much as we want to talk about awards, relationships do win lots of those ties. Casey, let me take that small pivot because it just made me kind of think of it. What are some of those things? You're sitting in this CMO seat. You sat in it in several different brands. What are some of those things that help win ties for agencies? They all want to compete. They all want to be a part. Nobody's going, I don't know, BetMGM maybe. Everybody wants to have a seat there. What are a few of those things that as you're looking at agencies that win ties?
Whether it's a media, creative agency, social, whatever it might be, half of the tenacity of choosing the right agency is the work. Call that 49 and 51%. The other 49 and 51% is whom we are going to work with. Do they share core values? Do they share core values with each other? Do we respect one another? And respect has to work both ways. And are we not afraid to push one another? Good agencies are agencies that push their clients. Good agencies or good clients are ones that push their agencies, and it has to work both ways. But at the end of the day, you're going to put your arms around each other, and when it's all said and done, and go, look what we did here together. And there should be natural tension in any relationship, but it's got to be grounded in respect.
Dan, let's talk about out of home for just a second. Obviously, you guys have your own set of awards that are all wrapped around outdoor. But again, it's such a beautiful medium, and it's often used when it comes to award season. Has there been anything recently that you've seen, or even something in the past that you saw a board of some sort and you just thought, oh man, this thing is so good, it should win something?
I'll answer it in a couple of ways. We did a campaign last year that I was actually really pleased. They didn't win in the out-of-home industry, but they went in Cannes, and that was with Crayola. Vicky Lozano is just such a fantastic marketing leader over there. And I met her through a conference, and we started talking about the social impact that they're trying to drive as far as like embracing creativity as a lifelong pursuit. And we as a company have a real focus on supporting kids and education and all that. So we came together and said, there's got to be something we could do together. And we helped them run a campaign that was built off of a library that they have of kids' art. Kids over the decades have drawn pictures and sent them to Crayola. And so we helped them with a campaign where they used digital billboards to show artwork by kids in the city that the kid used to live in, and basically said, hey, Jose, you sent this to us 20 years ago. We're looking for you. And they reunited people as adults with the artwork they did as kids. And it was so inspiring and so creative. And it ultimately culminated in an event we did in Times Square, where they were able to find a woman who, when she was in kindergarten, emigrated to the United States, didn't speak any English. Her kindergarten teacher spoke Spanish and helped her basically like enculturate into the United States. They reunited her in Times Square with the teacher by showing the artwork that she did on the billboard right above her with CBS News there covering it. It was one of these like kind of weepy, teary moments, just really, really great. So I was thrilled that Vicki and her team actually were recognizing Cannes for that. Sometimes the bigger awards are the ones that matter, not necessarily the industry ones.
It's pretty incredible when you can tell a story like that, whether it's a long drawn out story or again, sometimes you got to tell that story in 30 seconds or less. Let's talk about the campaign, Megan, that you and Casey just alluded to earlier in the podcast. You mentioned that it was shot in two different places. I was shocked. I was over at the LG studio here in New Jersey. It's a tiny little room, and literally they can pull anything up. It's not green screen technology anymore. It's all of these different tubes and things, and you're in a library, and the next shot is, the subway system, and it's almost seamless. And it's not the AI element. It's this whole background element. So you shot this campaign in two different places. Talk about that a little bit, Megan, from your perspective and standpoint. How did the process kind of come together? How did you select the places that you selected? And then Casey, I want you to talk a little bit more about the campaign, if you don't mind.
I think when it comes to any campaign, we just look at what's the best way to accomplish the creative vision. So having two different locations is sometimes necessary depending on all of the content we need to shoot for the campaign. So that's how we selected the two different locations in New Jersey and Canada. We had different agendas for different days. And if we can do something that we're not shooting practically, but we can leverage, even if it's not AI, but a stage setup, that might be the most efficient way to do that. So this is so much more than just TV commercials. This new campaign really penetrates any sort of brand touch point with the consumer. So we had to get a lot of content. Like Casey mentioned, it was a 9-day production, and we just look for what's the best way, most efficient way, maybe an unconventional way if we need to do that. And Casey and I could also share stories of our past lives of why we've had to take different production approaches in certain situations. But I think every project we just look at what's going to be the best way to accomplish this and get the quality content that we need to have a great campaign.
There aren't a lot of podcasts where you get a chance to talk about the process. There's plenty of podcasts. We run a bunch of them where you talk about what you won, how you did this, you move on, but you don't really get to talk about the process. And the process is really interesting. Casey, you've been involved, obviously, across multiple brands. Talk about this current campaign, at least from your perspective, how everything kind of came together, with it.
This campaign really started well over a year ago, Sean, when the agency and ourselves, we started, in reimagining what our core strategy and core creative idea could be for the BetMGM brand. The strategy was born, develop the campaign ideas, and this is much more than a campaign. I mean, it's a reimagination of what BetMGM stands for. I mean, quite honestly, we're at the forefront of entertainment and gaming, and we know we've got the spirit of Vegas woven within our DNA. And so, this positioning and with Make It Legendary tagline really celebrates the thrill and the spectacle and the storytelling potential with every spin and play, and working with someone like John Hamm, right? Universal talent. He's in everything. He's, Apple. He's got, Apple TV, Friends and Neighbors. He's got new stuff coming out all the time. He was just an absolutely natural fit to, represent the refined essence of our brand. And we just started airing it this past week, and we've got 5 more spots. I'm on the phone every day, twice a day at times with the Highdive team. We, sometimes when the agency tells you we're going to do a 9-day shoot, I fall out of my chair. I beg the CFO for a big check, and then we hope for the best.
That's when you go in and you say that's what the money is for.
That's exactly right. Hey, listen,
if you don't know that tagline, it's a famous John Hamm one.
And I also say is if this was easy, everyone would do it.
That's true. It's a good point. Listen, this last question is called Key to My Heart. You throw in your own event. You get to have a keynote speaker, either live, no longer with us. Who would you pick and why? Dan, let's go to you first. Who would you pick and why for your keynote?
So I'm going to go with someone who's no longer with us, Jim Henson. Not only am I just a massive lifelong Muppet fan, but in today's day and age, the world that we're living in, someone who has the ability to tell really compelling, creative, innovative stories while also reminding us about the power of positivity and being optimistic and actually like being good to each other. I think that's a really, really relevant message today. So
I miss his characters. I don't know. I don't remember I don't remember who owns the rights to them now, but I certainly wish we could see a bit more of them. Megan, you're next. Who would be the keynote for you and why?
Sure. Well, in addition to Taylor Swift, which I think we all, we
Of course.
opened this
Entertainment.
with, yeah. So, but she's obvious, right? But my answer would be Tim Ferriss. If anyone listens to the Tim Ferriss show or reads any of his books, he was the 4 Hour Workweek guy. I have just learned so much from him. He does an amazing job of simplifying the complex and kind of hacking what experts from all corners of like business, entertainment, sports, like how do they do what they do? And it's also a little bit of a cheat answer because he's interviewed so many fascinating, powerful, successful people that I feel like I get like 800 dinner guests in one.
I love it. You get the last word, Casey. Who would you pick and why?
Listen, I thought about this because I had a bunch of names written down, and I landed on Phil Knight. If you think about Nike, from a marketing standpoint, product innovation, shaping culture. I mean, there's a brand, and with Just Do It, that's what now going on 30, if not 40 years. They've had some interesting times, obviously, the last couple of years, but there's a brand that has always stayed true to its roots and has continuously shapes culture.
Well, listen, on behalf of Dan Levy, Megan Lally, my good friend Casey Hurbis, we want to thank all of you guys for listening to this episode of Rise of the Independent. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for listening to Rise of the Independents, hosted by Sean Halter and presented by MiO Marketplace. MiO, the marketer's matchmaker. Find out more about them by visiting miomarketplace.com today.